For months, we've been saying that the feud between the Fiend, Bray Wyatt, and Randy Orton is probably the biggest feud for the character, the Fiend. It may even be the entire reason for the Fiend's existence. I don't think so, and I think the Fiend will transcend this feud eventually. But with it looking likely at this stage that this feud will go till WrestleMania, we have to ask the question, what makes Randy Orton so important to the story of Bray Wyatt? And that starts with looking at the story of the Fiend and the purpose of the Fiend. The Fiend, we know, is here to right the wrongs of Bray Wyatt's past. The past of a character that we all loved. A character we thought should be the main event in WWE. The new face of evil. And no matter how cool things got, no matter how different Bray Wyatt would take the direction and fans still believed it, WWE favoured other people over Bray. And that is a wrong that Bray Wyatt now can right with his new character, the Fiend. But there is a lot more going on with the Fiend than first meets the eye. The first thing we always notice is the hurt and heal gloves. And the fact that the Fiend always listens to those gloves like they are telling him what to do. They are driving the anger of the Fiend. It gets even more complicated when you realise that the Fiend's alter ego, Funhouse Bray, does the exact same thing. Now, Bray Wyatt listened to the gloves to let fate decide, is what he said. So that's an interesting point, because does that mean he's listening to fate? Or is he blaming fate because he has to live with the monstrosities that the Fiend could create? The Fiend is a weapon of chaos. The Fiend is a monster, and he could potentially do anything. And underneath the mask, Bray Wyatt's still human. Bray Wyatt still has to live with everything the Fiend does. So could Hurt and Heal just be all one big ruse created by Bray Wyatt to convince himself the things he is doing is completely out of his control? Maybe. But things get a lot more sinister when you think about his ultimate rival, Randy Orton, and literally his entrance theme song, Voices in His Head. You literally hear the words, I hear voices in my head, and you think there's a good parallel between the Fiend and the Viper. Because it's those voices in Randy Orton's head that leads him to do monstrous, horrible, sinister things to other WWE superstars, including setting the Fiend on fire. Now, it's worth noting that after he did that, Randy Orton said the voices in his head were finally calm. They were finally at a place where they weren't bothering him anymore. For the first time in his life, the voices were quiet. Until, of course, the blinding light of a fireball awoke those voices again, reminding Randy Orton that the Fiend may be gone for now, but he's not gone for good. So it doesn't really come as a surprise when I tell you that this has actually played out a little bit on WWE TV with Randy Orton and Alexa Bliss. They did a promo on Raw where Randy Orton would claim the voices the Fiend hears were his. And Alexa Bliss said maybe the voices in your head, Randy, is the voice of the Fiend. And Randy Orton denied that, and again, they went backwards and forwards until it came the situation where the Fiend came to the ring and had to save Alexa Bliss from the arms of Randy Orton. Very amicably, they passed Alexa Bliss over like, she was just a possession, but that's literally what happened. They spoke about voices in their heads. But how could the voices that Randy Orton hears in his head be the exact same voice of the Fiend that we didn't know about until literally a few years ago? Well, flashback all those years ago, and Bray Wyatt told us about the Fiend. This was obviously a thing that Bray Wyatt planned to do many, many years ago. Now, WWE might not have allowed him to bring out the Fiend then. They may have waited for now. It might have even been long-term storytelling and been the plan the whole time. Just like this feud between The Fiend and Randy Orton. It could have been planned this whole time, and only now we are seeing the final payoff from a story that spawns back over 4 years ago. And if this has been in the genius mind of Bray Wyatt for over 4 years, it makes sense when you think that he cast a spell on Randy Orton all those years ago. Now, it was actually called a dark ritual, but think about it logically. That crucifix we know belongs to Sister Abigail. Not much is known about Sister Abigail. If we fast forward to today, we can identify Abby to be a witch. So it makes sense that something that she owned, like a crucifix, could perform a spell. And it's no surprise then that Bray Wyatt actually brought it back to the Firefly Funhouse on the very first episode of Raw. And it's been a concurrent reoccurrence in the Firefly Funhouse to represent bad words. So you could say bad things as if to say bad things are going to happen, maybe, to Randy Orton. Now, much like the other Funhouse puppets, Abby represents a memory from Bray Wyatt, an influence in his life. And that influence hasn't been kept in his head, it's been put into a physical manifestation of a puppet. So Bray Wyatt's head is actually empty because the voices in his head are real puppets. They're physically puppets and no longer in his mind corrupting his thoughts. Instead, they are there telling him what they think in real time. Unlike Alexa Bliss, who we currently think is possessed by the Fiend, possessed by maybe even a cult leader, Bray Wyatt. And while we've seen Bray Wyatt use the heel glove to allow Alexa Bliss to do, again, weird, crazy things, at the end of the day, Alexa identified what it was. A trick. A game. But crucially, what we did see was Bray Wyatt whisper into Alexa Bliss's ear. Kind of maybe a sign that the voices in Alexa Bliss's head are Bray Wyatt's. That the Fiend is controlling Alexa Bliss through mind control, through possession. This is Bray Wyatt basically telling Alexa Bliss what to say, what to do, how to act, how to be. And this is exactly the key to this story. It's all about voices in their heads. So when we go back to this scene of Randy Orton questioning Alexa Bliss about whose voice is in whose head, well, I think Randy Orton's in for a shock because the way it looks to me is the Fiend is in Randy Orton's head. The Fiend is telling Randy Orton what to do, and Randy Orton's doing it much like he is a puppet of the Fiend. And Randy Orton is literally unaware of this fact at this moment in time. Maybe in the future he finds out and erases those voices because of reasons, but maybe not. All of the clues are there in the distant and the present past of Bray Wyatt. From whether it's the Firefly Funhouse and he painting a picture of Randy Orton burning down the compound, to literally himself being recently haunted by the fact Randy Orton burnt down the Wyatt family compound, the burial place of Abigail. Of course, Seth Rollins set the Firefly Funhouse on fire, and people thought then that this was the end of the Firefly Funhouse. How could it come back? But it did. Bigger, better, and more extreme than ever before. Much like the Fiend. The Fiend may have been set on fire by Randy Orton, but that's not the end of the Fiend. The Fiend will come back in maybe a whole new capacity. Maybe with just slight changes. Maybe just with burn marks and a more sinister, evil mindset because of what he's been through. But history's shown us, Fiend will be fine. And if the Fiend, Bray Wyatt, is the person that's controlling the voices in Randy Orton's head, well, Randy Orton could be in for a horrific fate to come. I'd love to know what you guys think in the comments section down below. If you are new to the channel, please make sure you hit the subscribe button. Turn on the post notifications. Make sure you please like the video. It really does help it out on YouTube, so I do appreciate that. Share the video. It's the best way to get your friends to find it and see what they have to say as well. I will see you as always next time. Peace!